You moved to Da Nang because the internet told you it was paradise on a budget. Every digital nomad blog, every quit your 9 to 5 YouTube video, every Instagram reel of someone working from a beachfront cafe with a $2 Vietnamese coffee and a sunset that looks AI generated, all of it pointed here. Da Nang. Central Vietnam. The sweet spot between Hanoi's chaos and Saigon's hustle. The place where your savings account finally stops bleeding and starts breathing. Back home, you were drowning in the kind of slow, invisible way that nobody notices until you're already gone. A cubicle job that paid just enough to keep you alive, but not enough to make you feel like living. A studio apartment in a city where rent eats 60% of your income, and the remaining 40% goes to pretending you can afford to be there. Friends who turned into acquaintance, who turned into people you watch live on social media from a distance, like fish in someone else's aquarium. So you did the math. Your $1,800 a month back home bought you survival. That same $1,800 in Da Nang buys you a 2-bedroom apartment with an ocean view, a motorbike, 3 meals a day, gym membership, and enough left over to actually save money for the first time in your adult life. The math didn't just add up. It screamed at you to leave. You sell what you can. You stuff what matters into a 40-liter backpack because you saw a packing video that said you don't need more than that. You do. You absolutely do. But you won't figure that out until your 3rd week when you realize you brought 4 identical black t-shirts and 0 sunscreen for a city that sits directly under the sun's personal vendetta against pale skin. You land at Da Nang International Airport, and the first thing that hits you isn't the heat. Everyone warned you about the heat. What nobody warned you about is the humidity. It's not weather, it's a condition. You walk out of the air-conditioned terminal, and the air wraps around you like a warm, wet towel that nobody asked you if you wanted. Within 90 seconds, your shirt is a different color. You will not be fully dry again for the next 8 months. You grab a grab bike because the taxi drivers at the airport quote you a price that even your jet-lagged brain knows is triple the going rate. The grab driver is a guy in his 20s, wearing a North Face jacket in 35-degree heat, which is a flex you don't understand yet but will come to respect. He weaves through traffic at a speed that turns your internal organs into a smoothie. Red lights, you'll learn, are suggestions here. Lane markings are decorative. The horn isn't aggression. It's communication. 1 honk means I'm here. 2 honks means I'm passing. A long honk means I've made a series of decisions and you need to deal with the consequences. You survive the ride. You arrive at your Airbnb in Mai An, the neighborhood every expat forum recommends, because it's close to the beach, has Western restaurants, and is basically a bubble designed to make you forget you're in Vietnam, which ironically is the opposite of why you came here. The apartment is on the 15th floor of a new building. It has a balcony that faces the ocean. The rent is 8 million dong a month. That's about $320. Back home, $320 wouldn't cover your parking spot. Here, it buys you a view that people pay thousands for on vacation. You stand on the balcony and watch the sun melt into the East Sea and you think, I've made the right decision. You have. You also haven't. But both truths will take time to reveal themselves. The first week is a honeymoon. Everything is new and everything new is exciting. You eat banh mi from a street cart and it costs 20,000 dong. Less than $1. And it's the best sandwich you've ever had. Crispy bread, pate, pickled vegetables, chili sauce, and a slice of something you don't ask about because ignorance is delicious. You drink café soda, Vietnamese iced coffee with condensed milk, and it hits your bloodstream like a defibrillator. You understand now why everyone here is up at 5 a.m. It's not discipline. It's caffeine so strong it doesn't let you stay horizontal. You rent a motorbike for 1.5 million dong a month. A Honda Wave, semi-automatic, the cockroach of Vietnamese vehicles. Ugly, indestructible, and everywhere. Your first ride is a religious experience in the sense that you pray the entire time. You stall twice at an intersection while a river of motorbikes parts around you like you're a rock in a stream. Nobody yells. Nobody even looks annoyed. They just flow. After a week, you're flowing too. After a month, you're cutting through gaps that would make your mother file a missing person report if she could see you. Da Nang is beautiful in a way that doesn't try. Hanoi has history. Saigon has energy. Da Nang has the quiet confidence of a city that knows it has a 30-kilometer beach, mountains on one side, and the best food in the country, and doesn't need to prove it to anyone. The Han River splits the city in half, and at night the Dragon Bridge literally breathes fire on weekends, which is the most unnecessarily dramatic piece of infrastructure you've ever seen, and you love it. The Marble Mountains sit to the south like something out of a fantasy novel. The Hai Van Pass curves north along the coast and makes every motorcycle ride feel like a movie scene, where you're the main character. You settle into a routine. Wake up at 6 because the construction next door starts at 5:30, and there is no sound on earth louder than a Vietnamese construction site at dawn. They don't build buildings here. They assault the concept of silence until a building appears out of fear. Coffee on the balcony. Work from a cafe called something like The Coffee House or Kong, or one of the 47 places within walking distance that serve excellent coffee and faster Wi-Fi than your office back home had. You work your remote job. Freelance design, copywriting, development, whatever it is that lets you sit in front of a laptop and pretend geography doesn't matter. You work until noon. Then you go to the beach because the beach is 7 minutes away, and back home the closest body of water was a river that smelled like regret. My K beach is long and wide, and the sand is the kind of clean that makes you wonder if someone sweeps it. And actually, yes, someone does, every morning at 4 a.m. The ocean is warm enough to swim in year-round except during typhoon season, when it tries to kill you. You swim. You lie on the sand. You eat fresh seafood from the women who walk up and down the beach with baskets balanced on their heads, selling grilled squid and shrimp and clams cooked over charcoal right there on the sand. A full seafood meal on the beach costs you 80,000 dong. That's $3.20. You start to wonder what you were doing with your life before this. The expat community finds you before you find it. Da Nang has a specific type of foreigner. There's the digital nomad crowd. 20s and 30s, laptops as personality traits, talking about passive income and crypto, and building something while spending 4 hours a day at the gym and 2 hours actually working. There's the retirees. Mostly men, mostly alone, mostly sitting in the same bar every afternoon drinking bia hoi and watching the years go by from a plastic chair on the sidewalk. There's the English teachers, the NGO workers, the surfers who came for a week and never left. And then there's you. Somewhere in between all of them, trying to figure out which category you're becoming. You meet people at co-working spaces, at beach bars, at the Saturday morning expat brunch that happens at a restaurant where the eggs Benedict cost more than your dinner did all week because expats will pay home prices for home food when they're feeling homesick. You make friends quickly because that's how expat life works. Proximity plus loneliness equals instant bonding. Within a month, you have a crew. You go to rooftop bars, you take shady weekend trips to Hoi An, you ride motorbikes to Bana Hills and take a selfie on the Golden Bridge held up by giant stone hands and post it because everyone posts it and pretending you're above that is a lie. And then there's Lin. You meet her at a local cafe, not an expat one. She's sitting at the next table working on a laptop, and you notice her because she laughs at something on her screen, and it's the kind of laugh that makes you want to know what's funny. You don't talk to her that day, or the next time you see her. But the cafe is small and Da Nang is a small city wearing a big city's clothes, so you keep seeing her. Eventually she speaks first because your Vietnamese is trash and your courage is worse. You come here every day, she says in English, clear and confident, with an accent that turns every R into something softer. The coffee isn't that good. She's right, the coffee isn't that good. You came back for proximity to her and you both know it. Lin is 28. She's from Da Nang, born and raised. She works in marketing for a Vietnamese tech company. She studied in Singapore for 2 years and came back because Da Nang is home, and she doesn't say that like it's a default. She says it like it's a choice she made and keeps making. She speaks 3 languages. She's funnier than you. She's smarter than you. She has opinions about everything and the knowledge to back every single one of them up. You are, for the first time in a long time, genuinely intimidated by someone, and it feels fantastic. You start dating in the way people date in Da Nang. Motorbike rides along the coast at sunset. Bowls of bun cha ka at her favorite spot that has no sign, no menu, and no English. Late nights on the beach with cheap beer and conversations that get deeper the later it gets. She teaches you Vietnamese. Real Vietnamese, not the textbook kind. The kind with slang and jokes and regional pronunciation that marks you as Da Nang, specifically. You teach her nothing because she already knows everything you could offer. But she lets you try anyway, which is its own kind of generosity. You meet her family on a Sunday because in Vietnam, family isn't something you schedule. It's something that's always happening. Her mom serves you a meal that has more dishes than your apartment has furniture. Her dad asks you questions through Lin's translation that are polite on the surface but are clearly evaluations. What do you do? How long are you staying? What are your intentions? The word intentions in Vietnamese apparently carries about 4 more layers of meaning than it does in English. You answer everything honestly, which means you say, I don't know a lot, and her dad nods in a way that suggests I don't know was not the answer he was looking for. But Lin's mom likes you. She keeps putting food on your plate before you finish what's already there, which is Vietnamese for approval. Her younger brother thinks your Vietnamese pronunciation is hilarious and makes you repeat the word for chicken, ga, until the whole table is laughing because apparently you keep saying it with the wrong tone, which turns it into a word you'd rather not be saying at the dinner table. Months pass. The honeymoon phase of Da Nang ends and real life fills the space. The novelty of cheap beer fades when you realize that cheap beer is how a lot of expats here avoid confronting the fact that they're not building anything, they're hiding. The digital nomad cafes start to feel less like communities and more like waiting rooms for people who are between lives. You see the same guys at the same bars telling the same stories about the business they're about to launch, the app they're about to build, the life they're about to start. The tense is always future, never present, never past. And you start to wonder if you're one of them. Your remote job is fine, it pays the bills, but it doesn't mean anything here. You're a ghost in a company that exists in a time zone 12 hours behind you. You attend meetings at 10 p.m. You send emails into a void and wake up to responses that were written while you were sleeping. You are productive and invisible, which is a combination that pays well and feeds nothing. Da Nang starts to show you the parts the travel blogs don't mention. Typhoon season arrives and the beautiful beach becomes a war zone. The rain doesn't fall, it attacks. Horizontal, relentless, warm. Your apartment leaks in 3 places. The streets flood knee-deep within an hour. Your motorbike stalls in water that smells like the ocean mixed with sewage and ambition. For 3 days, you don't leave your apartment. The Wi-Fi goes out. The power flickers. The construction site next door keeps working because Vietnamese construction does not acknowledge weather as a valid concept. The bureaucracy reveals itself slowly, like a rash. Your visa requires renewal every 3 months, which means every 3 months you either leave the country and come back. A visa run to Bangkok or Phnom Penh that costs money and feels like a game you're forced to play. Or you go through a local agency that handles the paperwork for a fee and a level of trust that borders on faith. Your work permit situation is a gray area that everyone operates in and nobody talks about. Technically, you need a work permit to earn money while in Vietnam. Practically most remote workers don't have one because the system wasn't designed for people who work for companies in other countries while sitting in a cafe in Mai and drinking 30,000 dung lattes. You exist in a legal fog, and the fog is comfortable until it isn't. Lynn starts asking questions you don't have answers to, not accusatory, curious, patient, but persistent. Where is this going? Not the relationship. She knows where that's going. She means you, your life, your presence here. Are you staying? Are you building something? Or are you just here the way the others are just here? Passing through on a long layover between the life you left and the life you haven't started. You don't answer because the honest answer is you don't know, and you've already used that answer too many times for it to mean anything anymore. The thing about Da Nang is that it makes it easy to stay without committing. The cost of living is low enough that inertia is affordable. You don't need to make decisions because nothing forces you to. Back home, rent was a deadline. Bills were ultimatums. Here, the consequences are so soft, they don't feel like consequences. You can drift for months, years, and the city won't stop you. It'll just keep serving you $1 coffees and $3 beach meals and sunsets that make every day feel like a vacation, even when you stopped vacationing a long time ago and started just existing. You and Lynn have a conversation on the beach that doesn't end the way conversations on the beach are supposed to end. No yelling, no drama, just the quiet realization, spoken aloud for the first time, that she is building a life here, a real one with roots and plans and a trajectory. And you are borrowing hers. She's not your tour guide. She's not your translator. She's not your bridge to a culture you admire but haven't committed to. She is a person with her own momentum, and you've been riding it because it felt like direction. She tells you she loves you. She also tells you love isn't enough when one person is standing still. She says it in Vietnamese first and then in English, not because you didn't understand the Vietnamese, but because she wants to make sure the English version hits too. It does. She doesn't break up with you. It's worse than that. She gives you a choice. Stay and mean it. Get a work permit, learn the language for real, stop treating this city like a screensaver, and start treating it like a home. Or go. Not because she wants you to, but because she can't keep building beside someone who hasn't decided whether they're holding a hammer or just watching. You tell her you need time. She says time is what you've been buying since you got here. She's not wrong. You spend the next 2 weeks doing what you always do when life asks you a direct question. You avoid it. You work, you surf, you eat banh mi. You go to the co-working space and sit next to people who are avoiding the same questions. You ride your motorbike to the Hai Van Pass and sit at the top and look at the ocean and the city and the clouds, and you wait for clarity to arrive the way it does in movies. Sudden, cinematic, accompanied by the right song. It doesn't come. Clarity, you learn, isn't a moment. It's an accumulation. And what's been accumulating is the truth you've known since month 3. You love Da Nang, but you love it the way you love a hotel room. Gratefully. Temporarily. With the quiet understanding that your real things are somewhere else, and this, however beautiful, however cheap, however warm, is borrowed. You tell Lynn on a Wednesday evening at the cafe where you first met. She nods like she already knew. She probably did. She's always been 2 steps ahead of you in every language. She doesn't cry, she orders 2 coffees. She talks to you about her plans, a new job, a possible move to Ho Chi Minh City, her brother's wedding in Agyeobur. She talks about the future, and you realize you're not in it, and the weird thing is it doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like honesty. The kind of honesty that takes more courage than staying ever would. You book a flight home, one way because round trips imply a certainty you've never had. On your last day, you ride through Da Nang one final time, past the Dragon Bridge, along the river, through the back streets near the market where the pho stalls open at 5 a.m., and the steam rises like the city is breathing, past the cafe, past Lynn's street, but not down it, because some goodbyes are better left at the version you already said. Past the beach where you swam at midnight and felt for a few seconds like you belonged to something bigger than yourself. You return the motorbike. The rental guy counts the scratches and charges you for 2 of them. Fair enough. You earned those scratches. You pack your backpack, and the same 40-liter one, except now it has a zipper that doesn't close all the way and a coffee stain on the front pocket. You take a grab to the airport. The driver doesn't play music. The road is straight and flat and lined with palm trees and construction sites building more apartment towers for more people who might come and might stay or might leave the way you're leaving now. At the gate, you look at your phone. Lynn hasn't texted. She won't. That was the deal. Clean break. No long distance, maybe. No, let's see what happens. Just 2 people who were real with each other at the exact wrong time. You land back home. Nobody picks you up because you told everyone your flight was a day later so you could have one night to decompress before the questions start. You take a cab to your parents' house. Your old room is exactly the same. Same bed, same desk, same posters. It's like the room was waiting for you to fail. Your mom makes dinner and asks if you had fun. Fun. As if 14 months of learning to live in a language you barely speak, loving someone you weren't brave enough to commit to, and discovering that the hardest border to cross isn't between countries, but between the person you are and the person you keep pretending you'll become. As if all of that fits inside the word fun. You say, yeah, it was great. Then Anne keeps going. The cafe opens at 7. The beach gets swept at 4. The construction never stops. Lynn gets her new job. Your apartment gets a new tenant. Maybe a digital nomad, maybe a retiree, maybe another person with a one-way ticket and a spreadsheet that proves paradise is affordable if you don't count the things that money can't buy. The motorbike you rode gets rented to someone else. The banh mi cart lady doesn't notice you're gone. The ocean doesn't remember your name. The city doesn't miss you because cities don't miss anyone. They just make space and let the next person fill it, and the next person always comes. Because in a city where the living is easy, the hardest thing to do is decide whether you're living or just staying alive in a more beautiful place. That wraps it up for today. The story you just heard is fiction. But if you've ever lived abroad and felt the difference between loving a place and belonging to one, you already know. The saddest kind of leaving isn't the one where something goes wrong. It's the one where nothing goes wrong and you still can't stay. If this one stayed with you, drop a comment and tell me which part hit the hardest. More stories like this coming soon, so hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.